Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Angaur in Palau. Just a couple of quick notes first. I am at a very weird angle filming this, and if I do anything too drastic, it goes out of focus. Of course, now it's not doing it. I was tapping like this, it was going crazy. Never mind, I guess. It's not doing it anymore. But if it does, there it goes. If it does start doing that, I apologize. I hope that doesn't bother the visual relaxation aspect of it too much. Just doing my best. It's a really weird angle in my big atlas. Second of all, from what I understand, it is pronounced Angaur. But Palauan is one of those very interesting languages that it is not pronounced at all how it's spelled in English. You can see there it's spelled in Palauan and Gaur. A lot of things in Palauan are pronounced so differently from English, including the word Palau. So in English, we call this country Palau. It's actually pronounced more like Palau. It's not a hard P sound. It's more between a P and a B sound. Palau. So, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if you actually know, let me know down in the comments how it's actually pronounced, because I heard many sources just say Angaur, and I think that's just the English pronunciation of it. So, do let me know. Angaur, as you can see, is the southernmost island within the archipelago of Palau. It is very, very forested and quite different from the rest of the culture up here. It's about as modern as a Pacific island can get up here. Not so much down here. It's still very, classic Pacific island living there, I would say. Classic, almost Polynesian style, but I believe this is a Melanesian country. Or a Micronesian, actually. Anyway, it's very Polynesian from what I can tell, in terms of it being very jungly and living off the forest and the land there and all of that. It's very beautiful. I'll show you on Google Earth after. But let me tell you some interesting facts about this place through its history. First of all, about the coolest fact I think about this place is that this island here has its own official languages, and they are English, Palauan, and Japanese. It is the only place outside of Japan that has Japanese as an official language. How cool is that? That's fascinating to me. The only place outside of Japan where Japanese is an official language. So let's talk about how that came to be. Of course, people have been living here for quite a while, being the Pacific Islander adventurers, sailing through the islands and settling here. Palauan culture goes way, way back. There are many different clans that lived on this island, and they've left behind lots of cool artifacts and grave sites and things like that. The Spanish first sighted this island in 1543 due to the Treaty of Tordesillas. An imaginary line was drawn on the earth, and Spain got to keep everything on one side of the line, and Portugal got to have everything on the other. So technically, these islands, the Philippines and various other little islands, were part of the Spanish territory, so they were sailing by, scoping it out. They wouldn't really do anything over here until the year 1710, when they sent missionaries over here. Wasn't 100% successful, but it's still the predominant religion of the islands today. In 1910, phosphate was discovered on this island, which I've talked a lot about in my videos about Nauru. Phosphate is essentially calcified, fossilized seagull poop. that was used to make fertilizer, so it was very, very valuable. At the time, the Germans were in control of the islands here. And that was due to some selling off of the islands when Spain had went through some hard times after the Spanish-American War, and they were big time broke, and they lost a lot of their islands to the United States. And Germany was pretty much a brand new country around that time. They'd been around for like 20, 30 years. But they were late to the colonizing game, and pretty much the only other place that hadn't been swallowed up by the other European superpowers was the Pacific. So Spain sold these islands to Germany along with a couple other islands. So the Germans were very excited to find phosphate here, and they began mining, but that wouldn't be for long because World War I would break out just a few years earlier. And Japan itself, being a new power in the world arena, said, I'm going to help out, and I'm going to invade all of the German territories in the Pacific and take them over. Australia got the ones in the Southern Ocean, and Japan took the ones in the Northern Ocean. So Japan invaded, I think in 1914 probably. And of course they took over the phosphate mining and took all the profits from that. And they would, of course, hold on to these islands until the end of World War II. So, the reason that Japanese is a language here is that essentially a whole generation grew up with these islands being part of Japan and having Japanese being taught to them, living a Japanese lifestyle. So many people, well, not many people, at the time, many people who were just native Palauans spoke Japanese. Not so many today. They're slowly but surely dying off since they're very old at this point. But Japanese is still spoken throughout the island here. Oh, you know what else is interesting? I didn't find out why or how, but somehow the Germans brought macaques to this island. Macaques are little monkeys. You can see a lot of them if you go to Gibraltar or Algiers, like northern Africa. For whatever reason, macaques were introduced here, and they ran wild. As you can imagine, it's a perfect environment. This is the only island in the Pacific to have wild primates. Amazing. I mean, surely not counting Papua New Guinea. That doesn't really count as like an island per se. It's huge. But the only Pacific island that has wild primates. If you know why the Germans brought these tiny monkeys over, do let me know. Because I couldn't find why. I just only found that they did. So there's still macaques throughout the islands here. How cool is that? So America took over control of Palau in 1944. There was a huge battle up here, the Battle of Peleliu. After the American victory here, they headed down to this island and fought the Battle of Angaur. They wanted this island because Japan had built an airstrip on it, and they wanted to make sure that Japan did not have control of that airstrip. And it was quite a long battle, lasted a couple months. But the Americans won out. They took over the island and all of Palau. They built a Coast Guard station on Angaur that was open until 1978. I think it's still open and active, but it's not like a full-on military base, you know, like they aren't sending soldiers out there. There's really no point at this time. But that is basically the history of Angaur. Really fascinating little rock here, little coralline rock. Let me show you on Google Earth because there's some interesting sights to see. Let me slide this over so you can see. Oh my gosh, we're super zoomed in. Let me try to move this. It might squeak. Okay, it didn't squeak so bad. But, oh my goodness. It's a little squeaky. Okay, that's as good as that's going to get. So, okay. Let me zoom out first So you can see exactly where we are. I'm sure you're not quite sure where Palau's located in the world, so let me show you. Let's zoom way out. You can see the Philippines are right here. We've got Indonesia and Papua New Guinea right there. There's the Philippines. See, we've got Taiwan, and Japan is way up here. That's where we are. There's a cat yowling outside. Ignore them. You can see Peleliu's right here, where the big battle was. But the next battle happened over here. And you know what's interesting? I couldn't find any confirmation, but there is a big old rotting ship right here. I tried to find some street view or something to see, but surely that's a World War II relic. It has to be, right? It's all rusted over and old. It's gotta be from World War II. But, yeah, the pictures over here don't really show. It just kind of shows this little waterway out to the ocean. But you can see that there's lots of little beaches around here. Really fun ones. There's a big one. Let me just zoom out. There's the airstrip right here. It looks very pretty, but apparently this was the landing site for the Americans during World War II, so it was a huge battle scene. So it looks lovely now. You can see the Coast Guard station there. But at the time it was very harrowing. Over here, if I can find it. Maybe it's not there. It's over here. Look at this beautiful statue of the Virgin Mary. Just in the jungle. How nice is that? There's only one picture. I'm sure there's more. Maybe there's a street view of it. Nope. If I recall, there's no street views anywhere here. I tried looking. Not a lot of pictures. There's Angaur Elementary School, the only school on the island. Palau only has one high school in Koror. So once you finish school here, you have to go all the way to the big city to go to high school. We can see the little town here. It's pretty much where everybody lives that lives on this island. This little section here. I think over here is some kind of graveyard. Isn't that what it looks like? I know I read that there's a Japanese graveyard here from World War II, so I wonder if that's what this is, but I couldn't find any other information about it. But, from what I've seen online, look at this little cove here. How pretty. From what I can tell through videos and websites, that this is basically just a little paradise. It's not really a tourist place. Tourists can come here and relax on the beaches, but it's not like a come to Angaur and enjoy the pristine water and all that. It's just a little place. It's just a quaint little lovely paradise. I guess there's a lot of surfing that happens here, so you can come here to enjoy that. But basically that is about it. I assume this is where all the mining would have happened, right? It looks like a place that was mined for phosphate. All barren and craggy. But yeah, I tried to find other pictures. Even like pictures of the airstrip. There's nothing. So that's all they've got for you today. I think this place is fascinating. I encourage you to go and read and watch cool videos about it on your own, because it just seems like my kind of place to relax. If you enjoyed this style of video, please consider subscribing. Next, we're going to be heading over to Scotland, so I'm sure that video is going to be nice and long and interesting. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a good night. There's no slideshow for Edgar. Oh well. Good night.